So,
Alright.
Daryl, go ahead.
Alright. Can you guys hear me better?
Yes.
Okay. You managed in the Fox promotion. What was that like for you?
I'm sorry, that question didn't come through real clear.
Yeah, his phone's screwed up.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do that one. You managed the Funk promotion for a little bit. What was that like for you managing such a promotion?
Well, actually, at the time that I came back to Amarillo, Dory and Terry had decided, because it had been a family operation, that the time was right to move on and maybe do some other things. And so the promotion was actually sold at that time to Dick Murdoch and Blackjack Mulligan were partners, and that's actually who I worked in the office for. But Dory and Terry, of course, remained in the area because that was their home and continued to wrestle. And but Amarillo was one of my favorite territories, probably my favorite territory, just because I went there after the Maritimes in Canada and continued to get a break. Was surrounded by incredible talent, and it was very stimulating to be in a territory where Dory Funk and Terry Funk and Dick Murdoch and Ricky Romero and Cyclone Negro, and the list just goes on and on of the talent that were there. And so coming back a few years later to try and help Blackjack Mulligan and Dick Murdoch to try and get the territory on track again was a challenge for me. But it was tough because cable television had come along. It really changed the landscape of wrestling, and gas wasn't 20-some cents a gallon anymore, which when you think of what it costs today, it's hard to conceive that gas could have been 30 cents a gallon back in those days. But cost of everything went up, and the trips were long, and it was difficult for a promotion to run weekly towns and that weren't major metropolitan centers, and continue to stay in business and be profitable.
Oh yeah, I've actually got a question out of the chat room quick before I go to my next question. The question is from the Dakotan. He wants to know if you've ever been offered a Hall of Fame to be in the Hall of Fame yet.
No, I haven't. There's several Hall of Fames, of course. Dave Meltzer has a Hall of Fame balloting every year, and I have gotten a ballot the last couple of years and get a chance to cast the vote with the names that are selected. Those that have read my autobiography know that when I parted company with Vince McMahon, we were not on the best of terms, and even though I did come back and participate in the Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen DVD, and I was at Raw for the Flair tribute the day after WrestleMania. By and large, even though 12 years have gone by, probably not in the best terms of Vince McMahon, and would be surprised if somebody called and said, we want to consider you for the WWE Hall of Fame. But I am on the board of directors of what I consider to be the legitimate Hall of Fame, which is the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame and Museum up in Amsterdam, New York, and it's only been around for like 8 years, but it's the real deal, and I strongly support it, as I do the Cauliflower Alley Club that I'm a lifetime member of. And both organizations do good things, and it's a legitimate deal. They have a rotating group of historians that nominate what they feel are the worthy people from the history of the business, and they have a voting process just like baseball, where you have to be selected on 75% of the ballots to be considered. And certainly at some time in the future, if my name comes up, it would be an incredible honor. But I'm just happy that I had the career that I did, that I enjoyed the success that I did, and I have the fans certainly to thank for that, because they made wrestling everything that it is today, and certainly made me for whatever success that I enjoyed over the years. But those of you that are listening, if you're ever up in the upstate New York area, Amsterdam is just up above Albany, about an hour from the Baseball Hall of Fame. And I tell every baseball fan, sometime in your life, you must make that pilgrimage to Cooperstown to see the Hall of Fame. And I say the same thing to wrestling fans, that You must at some point make a pilgrimage up to Amsterdam, New York, and to see the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame and Museum, because it is the real deal. There's artifacts and posters and pictures and memorabilia, and it really defies description. It's something that you would have to go and see for yourself.
Definitely. Jonathan Clark, go ahead again. I'm going to let you go one more.
Yep, you were a heel manager in the business, and I'm going to get your opinion on who you think, besides yourself, has the potential to go down in history for being the greatest heel manager of all time.
Well, I always felt that Bobby Heenan was the greatest manager ever, and I think that Bobby set the standards by the standard by which the rest of us are measured. He was, an incredible mic man, incredible performer in the ring, had a great career after as an announcer, and if you ask my opinion, I always say that Bobby Heenan was the best, and certainly. Right up there, close behind him, would be Jim Cornette, who's had a marvelous career too. And and you got to go back in history too, to the likes of, say, Wild Red Barry, and even Bobby Davis. When I first started watching, was Buddy Rogers' manager, and he's often a forgotten guy that you don't hear too much about. But Bobby Davis was a great manager. So just to hear my name mentioned along with Freddie Blassie and Captain Lou Albano and some of the great managers in the business, just to have my name mentioned on a list with them is an honor for me. And if I had to be put on the spot, as I said, to pick the greatest of all time, I'd probably give my nod to Bobby Heenan.
Definitely. Now, my next question for you is there a particular way that you prefer to interfere in matches?
Being that you've interfered in men.
My feeling was always a philosophy of less is more. I watched a lot of people in the business, and different guys had different styles, and were successful with their own style, and yet the styles were not similar. Certainly, my style was different than that of, say, a Jimmy Hart. My style was probably more like a Playboy Gary Hart, who was another great, successful manager. But I always, Bobby Heenan again made the comment one time that when he wrestled like a manager, and when he managed like a wrestler. In other words, you think, not so much of putting the spotlight on you, but think about what's going on in the ring, and think about what needs to be done to further what's happening between the ropes, because really, ultimately, the fans pay to see a wrestling match. They don't pay to see a manager. A manager is a catalyst, is someone that hopefully, if he does his job well, helps create interest in the match, furthers the storyline or whatever the situation may be, and gets the fans charged up and interested to go see a match. And then once you're at the ringside, again, the role is not to take the attention away from people that are in the ring. And I used to like to sit there and at ringside and do very little, almost to the point that the fans would kind of get lulled into a false sense of security and forget that you were even there. And if I just did one key thing in a match to either turn the tide of battle to favor my guy, or even possibly do something was instrumental in bringing a victory for the guy I managed, then my night was successful, even if the rest of the time I sat there and did absolutely nothing. So less is more is really my philosophy, and it served me well.